Hi, good morning. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. This is a fourth roundtable discussion. This is about patient data sharing, which is very important topic. And let us start with the quick intro by everybody, and then I'll bring the summary because we had a conference back on 7th of March, and there was a panel specifically on patient data sharing. So our team, Narmeen, has watched the video and we actually took some of the points which will be the starting point for the conversation today. The objective of this roundtable actually is to go detail a further discussion to make the conversation actionable. How basically the white paper will be more actionable for the right stakeholder. That's the whole idea about the roundtable discussion. Starting from Dr. Tazeen, please have a quick intro on that.
Thank you very much, Ali. So I'll just quickly tell a bit about myself. I'm a clinician. I graduated from Rawalpindi Medical College. And since then, I've been working in the digital health space. So since then, I've got about 15 years of experience of working using digital tools to improve the treatment outcome and make better clinical decision-making systems. I work with clients all over the world to develop platforms, mobile applications across all stakeholders of the healthcare landscape. And very recently, I've moved into innovation. I'm working with metaverse. I'm also working on blockchain technology. I'm based in London, and it's really nice to be talking to all of you today.
Thank you, Dr. Tazeen. Munawar, can you quickly introduce yourself?
Welcome. This is Munawar. I'm Head of Clinical Operations Pakistan with IQVIA, and my specialty is clinical trials since 2006. I used to work with Stanford University. I feel myself proudly like I was a part of the 21 bioequivalence studies for FDA, and I know the importance of the data actually, like because in Pakistan we cannot have like that much of compliance what we learned actually during the international studies. So I would love to be a part of this chain and to support Pakistan in terms of together the technology and the patient data together, just to make sure the compliance and to showcase Pakistan in a better way.
Excellent. Harun, can you quickly introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Harun Khan. I've been in this technology sector for the last 15 plus years. And within the technology sector, I've been working within the SAP ecosystem. And I've been dealing with the different sorts of industries with the healthcare, but my most specialization is the government sector. And within the last 5 years, especially, I've been working in the principal SAP itself and looking primarily into the public sector and the government. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Harun, and welcome on board. Dr. Beena.
Hi, Ji. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. As Ali mentioned, I'm Dr. Beena. I'm working as Head of Medical Affairs, Clinical Research, and Pharmacovigilance at CCL Pharmaceuticals for the last 2.5 years. However, I've been associated with the pharma industry for over 10 years now. By qualification, I'm a medical graduate, and I've also specialized in clinical research. So just like one of my colleagues here, Munawar, I do have some special interest in understanding the fact that Pakistan's market is very sensitive and very premature in terms of data management and privacy and patient rights in terms of how their data should be managed appropriately and accessed when needed. I think we have a very old relationship with the Health Tech Summit because we were working with Ali since the very first day. So I'm glad to meet all of you here, and we hope that we can make a change or make a difference in the overall objectives should be achieved as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Beena. Yes, definitely, I would endorse that. The conference which we had on 7th of March, that was with partnering with SAP, Siemens, and then with CCL Pharmaceuticals. So CCL Pharma was the core team who put a lot of efforts in the leadership of Dr. Shehzad and Akram Saab and Dr. Beena. So great to have you guys on board. So I'll quickly summarize what was discussed in the panel on 7th of March. So there were key highlights of the panel. One was like technology with the right authority, SOPs, policy frameworks can prove to be beneficial. There is a need to devise a system where the data is accessible to pharmacy chain from the hospitals, network and doctors to better serve the patient. Then there was like a conversation on the flow of the ecosystem in data sharing. Like it was it was defined that we need to understand and define the whole flow of ecosystem in that. There was a fact highlighted by one of the team member that in Pakistan, there's only 4% of the doctors are using EMR and EHR system. So we have to look at our market for AI systems, because if only 4% is digitized, then how it is possible? We need to enforce digitalization. So for that data sharing, it was taken as a suggestion that data is only available once people go digitalized. So that was the first takeaway which was recommended by the panel on that day. Please take a note if we want to take it forward to the white paper as well. A doctor should record patient data digitally. So we need to combine the stakeholders together for a win-win situation. So there was also a suggestion that post-conference, there should be an open dialogue on data sharing specifically, where we can actually invite the right stakeholders from the policy, from NADRA, and from the data protection point of view, and we should kick off initial step on that. We need to move from having a reactive approach towards having a proactive approach. I think that is something more generic, and Munawwar, because he was part of the panel as well, so we'll get some insights from him. Right people in the health network of the government and private sector, and build a motivation level to serve the patients in a better manner. We have to invest in understanding your consumer and then building something that meets their needs. So current systems are not user friendly. We need to focus more on that. We need to educate consumer because why their data is important to be centralized, digitalized. So it should be multi channel approach to get the system digitalized as soon as possible. Then there was an action that there should be a centralized data monitoring authority, and through that the data should be coming into the system where the data can be given to different healthcare sectors as well. I think this discussed day before yesterday in one of the roundtable as well, that NADRA should come into the picture. There should be a centralized, credible body where the most of the data should be kept accordingly. Then we talked about data privacy and security. We have to build a culture of using it right way while protecting the data. I think Dr. Tazeen shared some of the insight on Wednesday panel as well, that how to secure the data and what is the situation in NHS UK. NADRA is again became part of point. I think as a takeaway, please consider how we should engage with NADRA and rest of the things. There was another point came in like data leakage. One is a financial data leakage. It will impact the money only. But if it's healthcare data, it actually it will impact the life of the people. So we must make sure that we have the right protocols in place. So ladies and gentlemen, we just like for your help, I summarized the output of the panel, which was on 7th of March. Now, for the sake of the panel discussion or roundtable discussion, now I'm putting a question in front of you. Like, we know the situation in Pakistan. What are the actionable steps we should take in Pakistan right now to start the patient data sharing across different platforms? So I would like to start with Dr. Beena on that one, and then we can proceed further.
So I think, thank you, Ali, for elaborating. I think we did get a lot of insights from the session. To begin with, I think the first thing that we need to understand is that whatever we are anticipating out of this, how much of it is actually realizable or practically possible as well. Yes, right now maybe 4% of the doctors are using EHR or EMR systems, but that 4% is also only belonging to only 3 or 4 institutions in Pakistan. It's not a very common practice that's happening in somebody who's running their own private practice, running their own private clinics. We talk to people every day when we meet them as a pharmaceutical representative, and they all prefer doing everything in terms of their patient interaction and data sharing, prescription sharing over WhatsApp. And they're very comfortable with that. So, changing their mindsets from a simple, very simple, basic application like WhatsApp, changing them, जिसके लिए फिर वो उनकी demands accordingly increase होनी शुरू होती है कि जी हमारे पास इंटरनेट कनेक्टिविटी नहीं है, हमारे पास कंप्यूटर्स या लैपटॉप्स नहीं है, हमारे क्लिनिक्स में हमारे पास कोई बंदा हमें चाहिए कि who would help us to log in the patient data, because our doctors generally are very overloaded in terms of work, in terms of patients. Every doctor who's a general practitioner to begin with has a practice of 100 to 200 doctors per day, and it's practically impossible for them to start to manage data and input data. So we need to understand how much of a workload we will be adding to their practice when we expect them to maintain digital health records, and then only we can provide them a solution. But first we need to ask and probably understand as well कि वो कितना आसान है उनके लिए करना, और हम उनको इतनी कोई simple चीज दें to begin with, which will be probably a beneficial item for them, कि वो they should look forward to a solution which is going to help. जहाँ तक नादरा की बात है, I would still have my reservations because Nadra has their own things to tackle. But yeah, something similar which at least helps in centralized management of data. Maybe yes, Dr. Tazeen can definitely add, because they have the examples from NHS, how simplified their data system is, or maybe we can pick up an example from AKU. Our fund maintains electronic health records. So uska system hum utha ke dekhen, and how easy is it to replicate that to the other hospitals, at least जो tertiary healthcare centers have, private or government sector, हम उनसे we can begin with, and then we can start moving towards the doctors who are doing private practice as well. So I think that can be a simple consideration to begin with.
I think that the one thing I think is very important highlighted by Dr. Bina, the workload on doctors itself, because I think Dr. Tazeen, you mentioned that day like one doctor to 20,000 patients approximately.
In Pakistan,
that's a ratio in Pakistan. So definitely we need to, when it comes to the digital, we need to think from the doctor's perspective, because
of course,
in Pakistan, everybody, we go to the doctor and they're always overloaded. So if they're already overloaded with the primary focus to take care of the patient, how can we add another thing? I think that's very important step. We should be discussed and highlighted
definitely
in white paper, that there should be a separate dialogue on that. And I think this dialogue should be with technology companies and doctors, because doctors should be there as well. Like how is the flow and how it is easier for them to support the process. So with that, would you like to add, Dr. Tazeen, because Dr. Bina referred you in the NHS example as well.
So first of all, Ali, it's very important to understand, and that's one of the reasons मुझे लगता है कि मैं शायद compel भी हुई इस field में आने में, because when I started off, my first project was with Cerner. At that time, it was like one of the largest leading EMR application in the US. और वो इतनी मुश्किल थी, इतनी उनके EMR, उनके clinical records, उनके SOAP notes, prescription templates इतने मुश्किल थे. And at that time, I was working with the Ministry of Health of UAE, Dubai में. The doctors completely said, उन्होंने हाथ उठा लिया, we're not going to work with this. It's impossible. A, we're not tech savvy. B, it adds so much pressure. इतने क्लिक्स थे, एक पेशेंट हिस्ट्री जो आप एक दो पेज पलट के देखते हैं, उनको 10 क्लिक्स के मिलती थी. That's where I realized, and अभी तक ये issue है, clinicians are not being engaged when you are developing an application. I always say, जब आप किसी अस्पताल के लिए कोई बना रहे हैं सिस्टम, तो जो इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं ना आपका एंड यूजर फॉर एनी एप्लीकेशन, ये तो क्लिनिकल एप्लीकेशन है, लेट्स से फॉर एनी एप्लीकेशन यू नीड टू नो द माइंडसेट ऑफ द एंड यूजर जो इसको इस्तेमाल करेगा. We somehow try to think कि जितना complicated एक clinical system है, it's going to be that much better. No, in Pakistan, we should take tiny steps, have very, very simple front-end user-friendly applications जिनका basic method क्या हो कि आपने जल्दी जल्दी touch points, आपने जल्दी जल्दी clicks में एक patient को देखा, उसकी prescription दी और next पे चले गए और data collect करते गए आप. टेक्नोलॉजी का इस वक्त काम ये नहीं है कि वो मुश्किल करे चीजें, टेक्नोलॉजी का काम है कि ऑगमेंट करें. सो टेक्नोलॉजी शुड बी यूज्ड टू ऑगमेंट व्हाट इज ऑलरेडी देयर, not to redesign or redefine. चले कुछ कभी कभी करना पड़ जाता है, but actually technology is there to augment, to come to the point of how to make clinical's life better. Now in NHS, if you see, and even in a lot of other applications that I'm building, I use these softwares that you don't have to type at all. अब यहाँ पे जो डॉक्टर्स हैं वो जैसे जैसे बात कर रहे हैं पेशेंट से, they're talking in this dictaphone, और एक टेक्नोलॉजी आई है and it keeps on typing itself. So होता ये है कि डेटा तो जमा हो रहा है ना, so they know something was written. So these are the kind of tools that we can see. Obviously that also takes practice. ऐसे नहीं है कि आज आप किसी को दे देंगे तो वो जी कल फर उसमें बोलने लगेगा. हर चीज में टाइम लगता है, लेकिन छोटे छोटे स्टेप्स ने यूज स्मॉल एप्लीकेशंस, बिकॉज डेटा शेयरिंग, डेटा अक्यूमुलेशन, डेटा एनालिसिस, AI ML तब आते हैं आपके पास जब आपके पास क्लीन डेटा हो. इस सब का बेसिस ही आपकी बेसलाइन इज टू हैव एन इलेक्ट्रॉनिक डेटा. डेटा शेयरिंग की तब बात करेंगे ना जब आपके मेजर स्टेक होल्डर्स इन द कंट्री, विच इज हॉस्पिटल, टर्शरी केयर, स्पेशलिटी, फार्मास्यूटिकल्स, क्लिनिकल रिसर्च, उनके पास कम से कम एक बेसिक फ्रेमवर्क है ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी जिससे वो आपस में बात कर सकते हैं. डेटा शेयरिंग तो तब होगी. तो हम, आई थिंक हमारे पास इनॉर्मस डेटा है, और डेटा की the importance of data right now is it's so valuable कि आप प्राइमरी केयर की डिजीज प्रिडिक्शंस कर सकते हैं, आप क्लिनिकल डिसीजन सपोर्ट सिस्टम टूल्स बना सकते हैं. बहुत ज्यादा यूज हो सकता है, लेकिन आप we have to start from something small, something very basic, something very simple. Even I would say पूरा EMR ना हो, आप डॉक्टर से कहें आप सिर्फ एक फॉर्म भर दें कि ये एक डेमोग्राफिक की 4 चीजें, इनको ये 4 तकलीफ से आए थे, they came for this symptoms, this was their diagnosis, and at least you've got some framework कि आपको पता चल गया है इस पेशेंट ने को 5 साल पहले आया था तो इसको ये था. Not, I mean, एक EMR तो बहुत कुछ कैप्चर करता है, वो तो फिर आप ड्रग टू ड्रग एलर्जी अलर्ट्स आ गए, ड्रग टू ड्रग इंटरेक्शंस, वो फिर आहिस्ता यू कैन बिल्ड ऑन दैट. We need a lean structure to begin with, and then we can, yeah.
So I think if I summarize, so Dr. Bina raised on like as an action, we can actually start with requesting to have AKU the model study, for example, like how they're doing it, one of the action. Then centralized body, which is the best place to keep the data and share accordingly. And then when Dr. Tazir is talking more about consumer focused tech systems, consumer focus, and then I think the voice to text is a very good idea. I think if doctors are, I think doctors somehow are we can convince them, but if we are able to manage their workload, so I think the easiest way is if we are able to sit down with technology to start with, like how to translate your voice to text, and I think that's the easiest, because anyway they speak about it. So building on those points, I would move to Mr. Haroon. So what additionally do you think we should do to digitalize our patient data sharing in Pakistan perspective, sir?
So thank you very much. First I would like to break down this problem. We have talked about there's data that is in silos. We have got many stakeholders in this problem. We have got hospitals, we have got pharmacies, we have got the patients themselves, and we have got the government also involved. There is a private sector involved, so the problem is quite complex in my point of view. So my recommendation would be that we should start with the things that who is the owner of this issue. Who is it going to be somebody from the private sector, or is it somebody from the government sector who is going to take this thing forward, who is going to own this thing, with keeping this number of stakeholders in view, which includes the private sector, the data sharing problem itself. So in my opinion, there is some sort of an authority that should regulate everything, including the data, the collection of data, how it should be shared, So all of these things. So now, so before coming even to the interface of this application, which in my opinion is the end thing, the first we need to establish this whole framework. Some people are, pointing towards Nadra. I'm hearing the name of Nadra again and again in this conversation. My opinion is nobody has somehow, or probably I've missed it. We should take this health ministry as an organization within the government of Pakistan, who should, spearhead this whole, you can say, this entire process. I'll give you an example. The government has recently established an authority, Special Technologies Zone Authority. This is something which is totally different, but I'm just giving you an example. This authority was formulated to bring new businesses in Pakistan. It has one objective. It has one mission to accomplish this thing. Right now, what we are discussing here is altogether a separate objective over here. We need to bring all this data into one place where it can help the patients improve their lives. This is one objective. This is one mission that we are talking about. Nadra is something which has altogether a different objective. So a very similar exercise is being done by the FBR as well. And that is, checking the lives of the people, how they spend their things and what text they are giving. They are collecting all this data from every different transaction that they are doing. And then they are going to build up a profile and match their spending versus their tax submissions. One objective, one mission, and they are building a platform for it. So FBR is an owner for this. Nadra is an owner of something else. Different authorities are owners of their own objectives. So my suggestion is to bring it into an actionable process. We should reach out, take this white paper, and discuss it from the health ministry officials, so that we want to bring this single data platform, which needs to collect data from different sources, be it the hospitals, be it the pharmacies, be it the industry, be it the pharmaceutical manufacturers. So we need to collect all the data and and use this data and share it amongst the different stakeholders. Now, what they can do, and in my opinion, is they can enforce within the government hospitals that every whenever the patient comes, there should be a centralized digital application which should collect their information, their history, their what sort of medicines they are being used, what are administered, and and they can also bring the bills within the assembly, that how this data can be shared with the rest of the stakeholders. No private entity can do this. I don't think the Ministry of Interior's Nadra is the right platform to take these things forward. So my 2 cents over here is, let's all engage the people from the health ministry, discuss with them that this is what we are trying to bring. Ideally, it could be the health minister. We can help engage him. We can have his thoughts on this thing, make him a sponsor of this project, and then this thing can go much at a faster pace, and it may help open doors much more easier as well. So that's my little thought. The technology interface, how the data is going to be captured at the root level, that is something that can be done very easily. These are just the logistics things. So that's my 2 cents on this. Thanks.
Ali, you're on mute.
Sorry, sir. Okay, so thank you so much, Harun, for a very detailed perspective. So now I would like to go to Munawwar because he was part of the panel, and then he got a end-to-end perspective from the different uh, members now. So what is your thought? What are the actions required in Pakistan for the data sharing perspective?
Yeah, thank you, Ali. I was noting down, keep noting down, and I am seconding the thing, Mr. Harun. Like, there is nothing to deal with in Nadra. Like, like yesterday, I was in call with my colleague in IQVIA that was from Australia, and it was shocking for me that the Australia health system within all the hospitals are very well connected. Even they are not handing over the patient data files to them until unless they have required. Everything is centralized. They just prescribe the medicine. The prescribe automatically medicine prescribe the prescribed medicine automatically went to the the pharmacies. So they are very well connected. So they do not require that much the NADRA involvement on the thing. What we required actually, we need to build a case in a way. We have to train, educate pharmacists, consultant doctors, and hospital itself. To be honest, Ali, I'm blunt. Okay, sometimes we went to the hospitals. I don't want to quote the name of the hospitals, और वो समझते हैं कि जो पेशेंट का डेटा है वो उनका है. I'm sure जो पेशेंट का डेटा उनका है, but again, they are nobody is taking care of it as a national cause. So this is for sure one thing. और सब ये कहते हैं कि जी हमने EMR बनाया तो वो EMR हमारा है. ठीक है, तो ठीक है, वो EMR हमारा है. तो अगर हम इसी सोच में रहेंगे तो we cannot move further. Number one. Beena is here. This is I'm appreciating a lot. जिस तरह से CCL doing the job. अगर इसी तरह दूसरे फार्मा कंपनी एजुकेट करना शुरू करें कंसल्टेंट्स को और हॉस्पिटल्स को कि ठीक है जी हम कोई एक जनरल बनाए जिसके अंदर हॉस्पिटल की इंफॉर्मेशन ना आए, बट टू डिजाइन समथिंग. जिस तरह से मैंने उस दिन कोट किया था कि इन 2014 डॉक्टर शाहिदूर के साथ कुछ ऑर्थोपेडिक कंसल्टेंट के साथ मिलकर हमने प्रोग्राम शुरू किया. नाउ वी हैव मोर देन 40,000 पेशेंट डेटा. वो पेशेंट का डेटा ऐसा है जो सिंक्रोनाइज लिंक जस्ट वन क्लिक पे आपको उसके एनालिसिस मिल जाएगी. सब कुछ उसके अंदर है. उसके अंदर इस वक्त हमारे पास 120 कंसल्टेंट्स ऑन बोर्ड है. वी हैव ऑलमोस्ट 40 लीडिंग हॉस्पिटल फ्रॉम द पाकिस्तान ऑन बोर्ड. और सब ने कंसेंट साइन किया है. इसकी डॉक्यूमेंटेशन होती है कि ठीक है जी कौन सी इन्फॉर्मेशन शेयर करेंगे, कहाँ करेंगे, किस लेवल पे करेंगे. हम हर इन्फॉर्मेशन शेयर नहीं करते. बट अगेन अगेन के इसमें हमें ट्रस्ट लेवल बिल्ड करना पड़ेगा. विदाउट ट्रस्ट वी कैन नॉट डू. दिस इज फॉर श्योर. वो ट्रस्ट इसी तरह से आता है कि आपको आप कोई कंसेंट फॉर्म साइन करवाएं सारे कंसल्टेंट्स को ऑनबोर्ड करके, और उसमें इनको गारंटी दें कि ठीक है वी आर नॉट स्टोरिंग योर डेटा. हम लोग इसको किसी नोबल कॉज के लिए यूज करेंगे. उससे हुआ क्या? उससे हुआ ये कि यू वोंट बिलीव अली कि दैट रजिस्ट्री, दैट नेशनल रजिस्ट्री represent in the US and that represent the Asia's #1 registry. उस पर कुछ सर्टेन इन्फॉर्मेशन हमने शेयर की और जो वहाँ के लोगों को पसंद भी आई कि ठीक है पाकिस्तान में इस लेवल का डेटा मौजूद है जो एक जस्ट सिंगल क्लिक पे आपको ग्राफ एनालिसिस सब कुछ बना के दे रहा है. ये भी सिर्फ एक इंडिकेशन है. इसी तरह हमें डिफरेंट इंडिकेशन शुरू करनी है. एज आई सेड कि मैं क्लिनिकल ट्रायल से बिलोंग करता हूँ और आप यकीन करें व्हेनेवर वी ट्राई टू पिच पाकिस्तान द #1 क्वेश्चन कम अक्रॉस व्हाट इज द प्रिवेलेंस रेट, एंड वी आर वेरी सॉरी टू से कि हमारे पास कोई प्रिवेलेंस रेट रिकॉर्ड ही नहीं है. पेशेंट डुप्लीकेशन है, कहाँ से जा रही है कुछ नहीं पता, हमें कुछ भी नहीं पता. लेकिन हमें कहीं ना कहीं शुरू करना पड़ेगा उसको. मैंने पहले भी कहा था कि टू एजुकेट मेडिकल डॉक्टर ग्रेजुएट्स इन सबको हम लोग ऑन बोर्ड लेते हैं और इनको ऑन बोर्ड लेके हम शुरू करते हैं कि ठीक है जी आप इसकी इंपॉर्टेंस बताते हैं और इसको कोई प्लेटफॉर्म डिजाइन करते हैं. और प्लेटफॉर्म डिजाइन करने के बाद वहाँ पर हम लोग कुछ कंसर्न के साथ, पेशेंट कंसर्न, हॉस्पिटल कंसर्न के साथ, और वो हम शुरू करते हैं, इंफॉर्मेशन शुरू करते हैं. तो कहीं ना कहीं जाके आज से आगे आने वाले 10 साल बाद शायद हमारे जो नई नस्ल है उनके पास कोई चीज़ पाकिस्तान को पिच करने के लिए होगी और हम भी इंशाल्लाह इंटरनेशनल स्टैंड कर सकेंगे. तो दिस इज जस्ट माय सजेशन और मैं हमेशा इस पे काम करता हूँ, बोलता रहता हूँ हर प्लेटफॉर्म पे. लेट्स सी इंशाल्लाह इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे.
एक और चीज जो इन्होंने बात की है नाली, डेटा पेशेंट का होता है. ये जैसे ये कह रहे हैं कि डॉक्टर्स कहते हैं कि हॉस्पिटल्स कहते हैं नो मैटर आपने you've implemented an EMR, you've put millions in it, आपका डेटा फिर भी आपका नहीं है, आपका डेटा
Yes.
पेशेंट का है।
Yes.
ये थॉट अगर किसी भी डॉक्टर के पास भी हो कि मेरे पास एक क्लिनिक है और ये तो मेरे पेशेंट्स हैं ना, पेशेंट्स आपके होंगे, डेटा आपका नहीं है। सो दैट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि अगर हम डेटा शेयरिंग की बात करें, और हारून भी जो कह रहे थे, फ्रेमवर्क, लीगैलिटीज टू नो कि ये क्या एथिकली करेक्ट है या नहीं है। एथिकल यूज ऑफ डेटा भी एक बहुत बड़ी डिबेट है जो कि डेफिनेटली आनी चाहिए। आप डेटा इस्तेमाल करें, बिल्कुल करें, आप उससे बहुत फायदा हमें मिल सकता है। और बिल्कुल जैसे कह रहे हैं मुनव्वर, आप रिप्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं पाकिस्तान को। हर कोई ये मांगता है, मैंने बिल एंड मेलिंडा गेट्स के साथ इतने प्रोजेक्ट्स किए हुए हैं, वो यही बातें मांगते हैं, दे जस्ट वांट डेटा। और लेकिन हमें ये रियलाइज करना चाहिए कंसेंट बहुत जरूरी है। आप पेशेंट ओन्स द डेटा, आप उससे कंसेंट लें। और मुझे यकीन है इस बात का कि हमारे लोग, अगर उन्हें ये पता होगा ना, शायद ये उनकी they will get better or something better will come out of it. I would say a lot of people would consent to it compared to the consent we get in these countries. यहाँ तो कोई consent sign बड़ी मुश्किल से करते हैं. Even like I work with systems in old homes where patients have dementia, and we tell them that, you know, after some time you can't make decisions, so you need to give that consent authority to your next of kin. बच्चे हो गए, वो नहीं दे रहे होते. हमारा तो इतना वो सिस्टम है ऑफ नर्चरिंग का, और हमारा एक वो जो कल्चर है, हम तो शायद आराम से दे दें कंसेंट, मगर कंसेंट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, एंड दैट्स वेयर फ्रेमवर्क कम्स इन. एथिकल डेटा कलेक्ट करना है, क्लीन डेटा यूज करना है.
I think building on that point, this is very important thing highlighted कि पाकिस्तान में everybody else own the data except the patients. और आपकी बात बड़ी वैलिड है कि ये डेटा पेशेंट का है, बिकॉज देखिए जो भी सर्विस आपने ली है, यू हैव पेड फॉर द सर्विस. अगर हम फार्मेसी की बात करते हैं, हम हॉस्पिटल की, हम लैब की बात करते हैं, सो वी हैव पेड फॉर द सर्विस. दिस इज आवर डेटा. आई थिंक दैट इज द माइंडसेट which we need to think of. I think before I go to her, man, I'm sure Dr. Beena, I think got a lot of information from Munawwar and Tadin. I would like to have few quick comments before I go to her, man.
Okay, thank you, Ali, for putting me in the spot again. I think I only threw some questions and then I put everybody else to talk about it. मेरा question probably मैं सिर्फ अपना practical experience यहाँ पर explain करूँगी. We tried during the COVID time, especially, we tried to, you know, work on some EMR and EHR projects, and we also tried to bring in the culture of telemedicine, or at least online consultation for very basic illnesses where you don't really need to walk up to a clinic. The main concern that we got from the doctors, and we had a lot of backlash that people did not want to jump onto telemedicine platforms, and how data dalna padega, and then data might potentially be auditable at some point in time, was that they were having this unreasonable kind of fear that their malpractices would be exposed. And in Pakistan, we are very well aware that malpractice is something very common. There's a big load of general practitioners who are doing whatever they feel like, not knowing about labeled and off-label indications. Especially COVID time में बहुत off-label चीजें इस्तेमाल हुई हैं. So they have that fear, to the point that we even struggle in getting adverse events reported by doctors. They say that if we are telling you about any adverse event, it will be a black spot on our practice. So they're not even willing to share a simple adverse event, which is uske liye regulation bhi bani hui hai Pakistan mein. We have a Pakistan National Pharmacovigilance Council. We have every process in place. We have a mobile application. We have a generic email ID. We have a whole department in Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan which works on adverse event reporting. Doctors are not even willing to do that. It's a separate debate that we will be able to convince doctors to share even anonymous data. Yes, obviously patients will give consent when they know कि हमारी personal information share नहीं होगी with any stakeholder at any point in time. Consent लेना probably would be very easy, जिस तरह Dr. Tazeen ने भी mention किया. But again, जो हमें सबसे बड़ा possibly roadblock मिलेगा वो doctors के ही level पे मिलेगा. So probably, you know, having some individualized discussions with people who can influence these doctors, जिन्होंने ये काम actual शुरू करना है, because मैं और आप data नहीं gather कर सकते, हम सिर्फ बात कर सकते हैं या हम solutions suggest कर सकते हैं. So bringing those people, yes, if we are probably planning to approach Faisal Saab in this context, he will definitely be the right person to guide us and tell us the right touch points or the right people to contact, influence these doctors so that they're bound by some regulation to provide the data, which will be anonymous and will later on help us in, understanding the demographics, the disease prevalence, especially in the non-communicable disease segment as well. So yeah,
I think
thank you.
seriously speaking, I'm so much overwhelmed as a non healthcare professional, because it's so much of information and very right and very relevant information coming.
We can do another summit for this.
No, but I'm thinking, no, actually, see, I just want to add one point here. Like Munawwar said, like I keep talking to every forum on that. So this is the promise which I make, and that's the reason we're having this conversation. We will not leave it as a conversation only. We will definitely go to. So our idea, together with support, our partner CCL Pharmaceutical, and we have a big uh, go ahead from their side as well. What we are going now, like we collect all that. Once we have the white paper with these clear actions, we will go to ministry, and I'm sure we will have a conversation, a smaller dialogue with industry. Industry, when I say industry, it means some pharma companies, doctors, some technology companies, and that health ministry, as Harun mentioned as well. So that dialogue, maybe one dialogue or two dialogue in Islamabad, in Karachi, we'll have that, and at least we will start a journey somewhere. I think we'll put a lot of focus and a lot of energy on that. Dr. Munawwar, that's my promise. I think it will not be just a conversation. That's my word to you. Okay. Because summit is over, still we're having roundtables. It means we are serious. Like last Wednesday, we're having back-to-back roundtables, and the white paper will come out, and then together with white paper will go to ministry, and we have the agreement beforehand with them. We'll present them and we'll get them on board, inshallah. And now moving to Herman, last point before I go to data protection, that will be the last conversation of this topic. Dr. Haman, you have a lot of information gathered now with these speakers. What is your 2 cents in that?
Thank you so much for calling me a doctor. I'm not a doctor yet. I'm a PhD candidate. I'm not a
No,
doctor.
don't worry on that. Dr. Bina knows
Okay.
that, because in this project, I'm calling my team members as well.
How
Narmeen,
sweet.
Dr. Narmeen. So that's an honorary role for a certain period of time with,
How sweet.
So please go ahead.
Great. So as we are talking about transparency, so I want to be very transparent. That's why I just rectify what you have said. Okay. So as ownership is really very important, some of these speakers said, I have an idea which we have implemented in telecom, that we have, USF, in which every telecom company invests in the infrastructure. So a similar idea can be implemented over here. As you are writing a white paper, I would request you to put this into it, that every where these patients go, either they go to the doctors or the hospitals, or so we have an infrastructure a little haphazard, but there is. So these people are the owners. What we can do is we can guide them that they have to, the big hospitals and the health ministry, they have huge funds of it. World Bank invest in these causes, and I know because I was working with the Sindh Health Ministry very closely. So they have these funds, but as the trust is not on the infrastructure, not on the people, so these all funds are, these are not, what can I say, into the masses. They didn't, disperse it. So what we can do over here is we can guide all these associations, the medical associations, the health, which comes under the health ministry, and you can guide them to make a fund in which every big hospital, which have these active funds, to invest. And what we are investing it, we are investing it making this data not only transparent, but also we need big data centers to put all those. Why there will be a dependency on NADRA has so much to do. They are collaborating with the banks. They are collaborating with many other organizations. Now FBR, they have huge load. So we are not, what we are making is, we are not, making a separate kind of data, but we will be enhancing that data. Okay, every live individual has their health specs. So this kind of fund has to be there, because these things, the cause is huge. We need money for that. So they have to have invest. And now everybody wants to collaborate with the telcos. Why the telcos are so why they got funds? Because they invest. They invest, and this is a very noble cause. Means I think everybody, every big organization, they can they can take part in it. So what we are doing is we are making a separate fund which will be working only and only for the health data, not only collection, storage, collaboration, each and everything. That is how it can be centralized, and that is how every end to end ownership is there. Everybody is the owner. We are owner of our people. So everybody is the owner. When this kind of ownership is there, so trust can be built. And once trust can be built, then we can we can go down the line. We can make the experience centers, we can make the applications coordination feasible, we can make the experience seamless for the people. So this is the thing, that similar kind of fund the telco, in which the telcos invest in, we can have it for the health tech as well. This is my idea for that, for making this ownership and this transparency means workable.
Great.
Yeah.
So thanks, Haman, on that. So moving to the data protection, because even the last couple of days we were talking about that the data, if the financial data is leakage, that only impact the money and economy. But if healthcare data leakage, it can actually impact the life. So I would request Harun, because from the technology leadership role, when it comes to the data protection, how technology is supporting us, like from the patient side and everything. Do you think we're ready from the data protection point of view?
Well, this is a very sensitive data. There's no doubt about that. And well, from the technology perspective, the financial aspects, the banks, and the other, the personal information and everything. The Data Protection Act, which is coming, is more towards on that side. This thing, the patient's data, well, I'm not, very much privy on that information as yet. But since this thing is not that much mature as compared to the other financial institutions and the sensitive government says sensitive data, because it's more focused on that area. But yes, having said that, since this thing is something which needs to be done, and this things, because these bills, the data protection bills, they keep on evolving, they keep on maturing. So once we reach to that point, we can always enhance that bill. We can always evolve it into much more covering all the aspects, which includes the health, the patient, how it needs to be shared, and all that thing. Because once we reach to this point of bringing into a shared concept, we can always add these protection clauses and make them binding on how it needs to be controlled and how it needs to be shared. Yeah.
Great. So Manohar, over to you. Like, once we talk about patient data, so how much sensitive that is for the patient and for the hospitals and doctors? So talk about all the stakeholders. What is the level of sensitivity they define it?
Actually, as I already said, कि ये जो समझते हैं कि the data belongs to them, or second तहरीन, the data belongs to patient, not to the hospital or the individual consultant. So they have some उनको ये होता है कि insecurity है actually, कि वो data किसी से share करना नहीं चाहते उस insecurity के लिए, और that sometime hurt all the stakeholders. ये chain जब तक हम लोग बनाएंगे नहीं ना, तब तक कोई काम नहीं चलेगा. You won't believe, जो मैंने रजिस्ट्री की बात कर रहा हूँ, and I keep talking about that registry, उसके अंदर ये होता है कि हमें सबको on board लेना पड़ा था. इसके अंदर, और ये एक दिन में नहीं होता, टेक लाइक 3 years टू मेक देम ऑन बोर्ड और उनको कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्ड करने के लिए, इसमें 3 साल लग गए हमें इसके अंदर। तो इसी तरीके से, बट वी हैव वी हैव प्रूवन रिकॉर्ड विद अस, इट कैन बी हैपन, ये कोई अनोखी चीज नहीं है, ये हो सकता है, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, सेकंड जो स्टेक होल्डर है, आई मस्ट से कि जो हॉस्पिटल्स हैं हमारे हैं, दे आर एक्चुअली फाइटिंग ईच अदर, टू बी ऑनेस्ट। They are not taking care as an industry. Number 2, when we started the clinical trials in Pakistan 2006, so there were so many myths about Pakistan. मुझे अच्छी तरह याद है कि we were talking about some leading organization from Malaysia, Apex के नाम से वहाँ पर एक कंपनी थी मलेशिया के अंदर। तो उनके कुछ representatives, they are about to come in Pakistan, and they were asking me what sort of veil we supposed to wear. मैंने कहा बुरखा क्यों पहनेंगे आप? मैंने कहा नहीं, हम पाकिस्तान आ रहे हैं तो हम बुरखा पहन के नहीं है। उस टाइम पे कुछ हमारे जो मॉडल सीन्स वगैरह थी, तो मैंने उनकी कुछ अच्छी सी पिक्चर्स ली, उनको शेयर किया। मैंने कहा लुक, दिस इज द पाकिस्तान, आई डोंट नो कि आपके पास इमेज कैसे क्रिएट है पाकिस्तान की। सेकंड क्वेश्चन कि ठीक है, शैल वी टेक इंटरप्रेटर विद अस, और आपकी तरफ से कोई बंदा होगा जो हमें ट्रांसलेशन कर देगा। आई थॉट कि शायद मलेशियन लैंग्वेज या सिंगापुरियन लैंग्वेज की ट्रांसलेशन मांग रहे, बट दे वर टॉकिंग अबाउट इंग्लिश कि ठीक है जी, क्या इंग्लिश ट्रांसलेट कर सकते हैं जी? मैंने कहा आए तो वी हैव फॉरेन क्वालिफाइड इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स, कंसल्टेंट्स और प्रोफेशनल स्टाफ, वो आपको आपसे अच्छी इंग्लिश बोल देंगे। तो जब पाकिस्तान आए तो टुक देम आगा खान, शौकत खान, हम लियाकत नेशनल हॉस्पिटल, और वहाँ जब हमारे कंसल्टेंट्स उनको डील किया तो दे वर वेरी मच इम्प्रेस्ड। और जो सबसे थर्ड बड़ा क्वेश्चन था वो ये था कि वी फाउंड लाइक, मैं अपने नेबर्स का नाम नहीं लूंगा, नेबर्स कंट्रीज का नाम नहीं लूंगा, बट वहाँ पर कुछ पास एक्सपीरियंस ऐसे रहते डेटा फ्रॉडलाइन के और सब कुछ के, तो वो यही पाकिस्तान से भी एज्यूम कर रहे थे कि जी आपके पास तो डेटा कैप्चरिंग टेक्निक ही नहीं है। और व्हेन वी टुक देम टू इंडस हॉस्पिटल, तो दे वाज अमेज्ड, इंडस हॉस्पिटल टोटली 100% पेपरलेस एनवायरनमेंट, उनके पास सब कुछ इलेक्ट्रॉनिक। सेम आगा खान के पास कुछ सिस्टम ईएमआर पे, कुछ शौकत खान के पास ईएमआर पे, लियाकत नेशनल वर्किंग ऑन इट। फिर हम जियाउद्दीन गए, वहाँ पे हमने देखा तो वो हैरान रह गए देख के, कह रहे हैं कि आपके पास तो पूरा सिस्टम है। और दैट वाज वन ऑफ द हॉस्पिटल आगा खान, इट वाज आई ओपनिंग फॉर मी। उनके पास एक डिपार्टमेंट है कॉल हिम्स, HIMS। उनके पास ह्यूज डेटाबेस है, और उनके पास पेशेंट फाइल्स वेरी वेल ऑर्गेनाइज्ड है। दिस इज माय हम्बल रिक्वेस्ट टू बीना एंड अदर स्टेक होल्डर्स, इफ वी कैन कन्विंस आगा खान टू ट्रेन अदर हॉस्पिटल एज वेल ऑन द सेम पॉइंट। हमारे साथ टीम थी, वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट स्पेसिफिकली इंडिकेशन ऑन आवर क्लिनिकल स्टडी। हम उनसे सिर्फ पेशेंट का नंबर बता रहे थे। देयर वाज अ पर्सन सिटिंग इन द हिम्स डिपार्टमेंट, वो उसने सिर्फ कंप्यूटर पे जस्ट उसने क्लिक किया, कुछ सर्च किया, और ही टुक अस एग्जैक्ट रैक नंबर। वहाँ पर बहुत सारे रैक्स हैं, वो एग्जैक्ट उस रैक नंबर पे ले गया, उस रैक नंबर पे ले आकर उसने वो पेशेंट की फाइल निकाल के हमारे सामने कर दी। तो इस तरह की चीजें बिल्ड हैं। व्हेन आई विजिटेड थाईलैंड, मलेशिया, सिंगापुर, तो वहाँ पे इवन ताइवान बहुत छोटा मुल्क है, मैं वहाँ जब गया, वहाँ देखने उनका मेडिकल रिकॉर्ड सिस्टम इनक्रेडिबल है। उन्होंने जिस तरह से अपना आपको कनेक्ट किया हुआ है, उसमें जब मेरी उनसे डिस्कशन होती है कि हाउ यू हैव दैट मच एक्सेस इन द डेटा, वो कहते हैं दिस इज अ वेरी इजी जॉब फॉर अस, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ सबसे अच्छी बात ये कि वी टेक केयर ऑफ द पेशेंट सेफ्टी, और पेशेंट सेफ्टी इन अ वे कि पेशेंट की डुप्लीकेशन ना हो, ओवर ट्रीटमेंट ना हो उसका, और उसको कोई ऐसी मेडिसिन ना मिल रही हो जो ऑलरेडी जिसका कोई जेनेरिक वो कोई और कहीं और से ले रहा है, उसका दूसरा ब्रांड यहाँ से ले रहा है। अनफॉर्चुनेटली पाकिस्तान के अंदर ये है कि वी हैव सो मेनी जेनेरिक एंड ब्रांड, और पेशेंट बेचारों को पता ही नहीं है कि एक ही दवाई 2 अलग ब्रांड नेम से खा रहे हैं, और उसका जेनेरिक एक ही। तो उसमें फार्मेसी को भी ऑन बोर्ड होना पड़ेगा। तो बोर्ड कहेंगे कि हम लोगों के पास ऐसा है कि फार्मेसी को भी पता है कि पेशेंट किस जेनेरिक पे, अगर द सेम पेशेंट वेंट टू अनदर हॉस्पिटल, द हॉस्पिटल कंसल्टेंट हैविंग द पेशेंट्स डेटा, वो खोल के 2 मिनट में देख लेता है कि ठीक है जी, यू विजिटेड लास्ट टाइम सो एंड सो कंसल्टेंट, और उन्होंने आपको ये प्रिस्क्राइब किया, आप ऑलरेडी इस मेडिसिन पे, तो मैं आपको सिर्फ थोड़ा सा मोड ऑफ ऑपरेशन चेंज कर देता हूँ। आप यकीन करें अली, पाकिस्तान के बाहर बहुत सारा काम किया, और बहुत सारी बड़ी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ काम किया, स्टिल हैविंग सो मेनी ऑफर्स विद मी। बट एक चीज है कि नहीं जी, बीइंग अ पाकिस्तानी, कि दिस इज अ पे बैक टाइम, कि ठीक है जी, जो मैंने करना था वो मैं कर गया, अल्लाह का शुक्र, अल्लाह ताला ने इज्जत भी दे दी, सब कुछ है, अल्लाह का शुक्र है। आई एम हेडिंग द मोस्ट वर्ल्ड लार्जेस्ट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इन पाकिस्तान। लेकिन अब क्या काम करना है, अब शायद अपने पाकिस्तान के लिए काम करना है, आने वाली नस्लों के लिए काम करना है, जिसके लिए मैं हमेशा सबसे रिक्वेस्ट कर रहा होता है कि आई फील माई सेल्फ अलोन फाइटर, कि ठीक है जी, मैं हॉस्पिटल में जाके लड़ रहा हूँ, समटाइम हॉस्पिटल कहते हैं मुझसे कि तुम्हारा पर्सनल इंटरेस्ट क्या है इसके अंदर। मैं कहता हूँ भाई, मेरा पर्सनल इंटरेस्ट तो कोई नहीं है, आज अब ये काम कर लेंगे, आपकी आने वाली जिंदगी आसान हो जाएगी। एक चीज का गिला मैं सारी फार्मा कंपनी से, डॉक्टर से, सबसे ही करता हूँ, मेरा उनसे सवाल ही होता है कि डॉक्टर साहब ठीक है, मैं आपका डेटा नहीं दे रहा, आपके हॉस्पिटल के पेशेंट डेटा नहीं दे रहा, क्या आप मुझे बता सकते हैं कि पाकिस्तान की इतनी बड़ी हिस्ट्री के अंदर पाकिस्तान ने एक एंटीबायोटिक दरियाफ्त की हो, कोई एक मॉलिक्यूल बनाया हो पाकिस्तान के अंदर? हम जेनेरिक बनाते हैं, ब्रांड्स ऑलवेज डन बाय समवन एल्स। क्यों? क्योंकि दे बिलीव इन द क्लिनिकल ट्रायल, रिसर्च, पेशेंट डेटा, फार्माकोविजिलेंस। हमारी ये बातें सारी हो रही है फार्माकोविजिलेंस का डेटा। अगर मैं डॉक्टर बीना ने भी कोट किया फार्माकोविजिलेंस, सॉरी टू से डॉक्टर बीना कि अगर आप खुद भी अपने डेटा भी फार्माकोविजिलेंस का लेने जाएंगे ना, शायद आपको भी इन्फॉर्मेशन ना मिले। I have worked with them very deeply, but unfortunately this, मैं अभी भी बुरा नहीं कहूँगा, हर जगह एरिया ऑफ डेवलपमेंट का चांस होता है, हर जगह ग्रे एरिया होता है, हम सब मिलकर इसको शायद कोप अप कर लेंगे। ये हमारा एक नेशनल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, रादर देन आर्ग्यू करें कि इसके पास ये नहीं है, इसके पास ये नहीं है, वो टाइम चला गया, अभी मेरे ख्याल में काम करने का टाइम है। तो हम आई एम थैंकफुल टू यू अली कि आपने मुझे इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर बुलाया हुआ। मैंने शुरू में आपको बोल दिया था सॉरी, आई मस्ट बी, आई माइट बी ब्लंट, तो वो यही ब्लंटनेस है कि जब मैं विजिट करता हूँ तो मुझे चैलेंजेस फेस होते हैं। पाकिस्तान के पास से सारी इंटरनेशनल स्टडीज बहुत सारी चली जाती है, उसकी वजह ये होता है कि पाकिस्तान वाज द लास्ट कंट्री जो डेटा पिच कर सके। हमारे पास फैक्ट एंड फिगर्स नहीं है। यू वोंट बिलीव कि आज भी हम अगर अपना क्लिनिकल ट्रायल शो करना चाहते हैं ना, तो हम एक थर्ड पार्टी की एप्लीकेशन यूज करते हैं, दैट इज कॉल्ड clinicaltrial.gov, दैट इज नॉट बिलोंग्स टू पाकिस्तान। हम वो यूज करके डेटा पिच करते हैं कि जी देखिए वहां पर ये डेटा कुछ नजर आ रहा है, एंड दैट इज कैप्चरिंग माइट बी ओनली 40% डेटा ऑफ पाकिस्तान, 100% तो वो भी नहीं कर रहा। ठीक है, तो ठीक है जी, लोग कंसर्न होते हैं कि आपका फाइनेंशियल इंटरेस्ट क्या है, आपका पर्सनल इंटरेस्ट क्या है। तो मैं कहता हूँ भाई अल्लाह ने मुझे बहुत कुछ दे दिया है, अल्लाह ताला का शुक्र है, आई एम एंजॉयिंग माय लाइफ हैप्पीली। लेकिन अब ये मैं ये कहता हूँ लोगों से कि भाई आगे आने वाले नस्लों के लिए, क्योंकि जहाँ मैं जिन कंट्रीज के साथ विजिट कर चुका हूँ, जिस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में मैं काम कर रहा हूँ, IQVIA हैविंग ऑफिस इन 120 कंट्रीज, और द डेटा दे हैव वो वेरी वेल कनेक्टेड है एक दूसरे से, उनके पास सारी चीजें फिंगर टिप्स के अंदर है। समटाइम दे आस्क मी कि ठीक है वी आर रेडी टू सपोर्ट पाकिस्तान, हम यहाँ पर डेटा बिल्ड करते हैं, क्या फार्मा कंपनी में सपोर्ट करेंगी? मैंने कुछ फार्मा कंपनी को अप्रोच किया, वो कहते हैं जी आप हमारा डेटा किसी और के साथ शेयर कर दें। मैं कहूँ भाई कॉन्फिडेंशियलिटी एग्रीमेंट साइन कराएं और ट्रस्ट बिल्ड करें। जब तक ट्रस्ट ही नहीं बिल्ड होगा हमारा, तब तक हम आगे मूव भी नहीं कर सकेंगे। तो मैं बस अब तक ज़्यादा बोलूंगा नहीं, 3 चीज़ों में क्लोज करूंगा। नंबर 1 ट्रस्ट, नंबर 2 इज एजुकेशन, और नंबर 3 जो है हमारा वो है कि हम सारे स्टेक होल्डर एक जगह हो जाएं अब, वरना फिर हमारे पास टाइम नहीं बचेगा। बाद में हम सब दोबारा सीधा बैठ होंगे 5 साल बाद, हम यही कह रहे होंगे कि जी कहाँ से शुरू करें। थैंक यू वेरी मच अली।
थैंक यू सो मच। लाइक आपने तो वो एक तकरीर करके हम सबको इमोशनल कर दिया यार। मतलब अब तो किसे कहते हैं कि इसके बाद तो तालियां ही बनती हैं इसके बाद। तो थैंक यू सो मच लाइक फॉर बीइंग सो काइंड। मुझे आपकी बात से के अंदाजा ये भी है, विद ड्यू रिस्पेक्ट टू ऑल द डॉक्टर्स, जिस तरह होता है कि पाकिस्तान में तो ये भी ट्रेंड है, एक डॉक्टर से दूसरे डॉक्टर के पास जाएं, ओके अच्छा भाई क्या ले रहे हो, ओके ये प्रिस्क्रिप्शन, ओके ओए होए तुम्हें ये क्या दे दिया उसने, ये तो ऐसा था, ये तो वैसा था, ये दिस इज वेरी कॉमन। पेशेंट कहता है अब पता नहीं मेरे साथ पता नहीं क्या हो गया, क्या होने वाला है। दैट माइट बी वन ऑफ द फैक्टर के डॉक्टर्स डू नॉट वांट टू शेयर देयर प्रिस्क्रिप्शन। सो जी
बट
जी
देखिए एक बात है यहाँ पे अली, देखें मैं यूके की एग्जांपल ले लेती हूँ। सो राइट, यहाँ पे मैं जितने डॉक्टर्स को जान, मोस्टली डॉक्टर्स यहाँ पे मोस्टली पाकिस्तानी, इंडियन और बांग्लादेशी हैं, ठीक है। आप यहाँ पे तो डॉक्टर ये नहीं करते। ये जो मुनव्वर ट्रस्ट की बात कर रहे हैं ना, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट ट्रस्ट डेवलप जब होता है जब अकाउंटेबिलिटी होती है। यहाँ पे कोई ऐसी हरकत क्यों नहीं करता? ट्रांसपेरेंसी है, अकाउंटेबिलिटी है, फ्रेमवर्क्स है, लेजिस्लेशन है, सबको पता है कि जो मैं कह रहा हूँ वो रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है। ये बहुत जरूरी है। आप डेटा शेयरिंग की, यही आपका था, डेटा शेयरिंग की बात कर रहे हैं। अगर आपके पास ओवरऑल एक गवर्नमेंट की सतह पर एक रेगुलेशन होगा कि सबको पता होगा कि डेटा जो शेयर हो रहा है वो एथिकल है, ये गाइडलाइंस हैं हमारी, ये डेटा प्रोटेक्शन रूल्स हैं, इसको ये कॉन्सेंट हमारी मैनेजमेंट है, ये कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स हैं, तो शायद ट्रस्ट बिल्ड हो जाए। क्योंकि आपको सिस्टम पे ट्रस्ट करना पड़ेगा। जब आप डेटा देंगे यू विल हैव टू ट्रस्ट समबडी, राइट? आपको ट्रस्ट बिल्ड तब होता है जब आपको नजर आता है कि ये इनकी कोई क्रेडिबिलिटी है। आप लेजिस्लेशन लेकर आए, आप अब मैं जितनी भी मुल्क में wherever I work, I mean people are, हर पहला बंदा मुझे कहता है कि डॉक्टर आपकी जो क्लिनिकल एप्लीकेशन होगी will it be compliant to patient confidentiality rules? यानी कि हिपा अमेरिका में, यहाँ पे GDPR है, ऑस्ट्रेलिया में कुछ और है, कनाडा में पिपिडा है। तो उनको ये होता है बैक ऑफ द माइंड में कि हमें तो फाइन हो जाएगा अगर हमारी क्लिनिकल एप्लीकेशन में जरा भी कोई ऐसी चीज हुई जिससे पेशेंट डेटा लीक हो जाए, बिकॉज वहां पे फ्रेमवर्क्स इतने have been there That's what we need to do. First, develop a framework. Everybody knows that what is data sharing. Kya share ho raha hai? Kis tarah share hota hai? What are the implications? What are the consents? What happens, for example, if there's a leakage? What happens if somebody doesn't comply? Kuch to guardrails we'll have to implement at a government level or health ministry level, as jaise Haroon ne kaha, bilkul. तभी तो stakeholders को भी trust build होता है ना कि yes, they are, ये जो कह रहे हैं इसमें credibility है. If I don't do this or if I do something wrong, there's going to be some actionable, some action taken. इससे शायद trust build हो.
Thank you, Dr. Tazeen, because we left with 2 minutes more. So I would say, like, if Haroon, Herman, or Dr. Beena, last 30 seconds, if you want to say last point before we conclude on time.
Ali, I'll take more than 1 minute maybe. So just a few suggestions from the perspective of, when you're compiling your white paper. Pehli cheez ye hogi, in my opinion, is that we should include a better practice. Maybe if Dr. Tazeen can give us a better example, or even if we can pick up a local example from Indus or from AKU, so that the people in the government or at the decision-making level, if they're reading something, they have a good perspective of what's actually being done, and it can be replicated at a mass level. दूसरी चीज जो ध्यान में रखनी चाहिए is the healthcare practice in Pakistan is very highly commercialized. So if tomorrow you want to incentivize doctors in any way कि वो अपना data gather करें और share करें, to begin with, some sort of incentivization policy will be needed, cash or kind, whatever, to motivate them to at least start doing it. Data collection, yes, there has to be regulations. और पाकिस्तान को कुछ नया नहीं बनाना पड़ेगा. There's so many better practices worldwide. There's NHS की example है, HIPAA compliance policies हैं. Just pick one of them and replicate the same in a slightly simpler version. That can be done very easily. Data store कहाँ पे होगा? And something very important from the perspective of healthcare data is कि उस data की एक expiry date भी होती है. हो सकता है 15-20 साल पुराना डेटा आज के दिन में डिसीजन मेकिंग में उसका कोई रोल ही ना हो. So maybe if you're gathering data, 10 years minus का डेटा हम expired consider करें. So starting from collection to the expiry date or storage date, everything has to be proposed according to the better practices that are happening globally. So that's all from my end. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Haroon, any last point before we conclude the call?
No, that's all from my side. But just one thing, that it's an extremely noble cause, and I'm here to support from the technology side, and also if any support, any liaison with the government side, I'm here to support for this cause. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will conclude that. Thank you so much, everybody. I think it's overwhelming conversation, and we promise that we'll make our contribution and we'll bring it to the white paper and then to the actions. We'll share the form with you. If you have later thoughts, you can still add in that form. If you have some of the information, that will also become part of the white paper. With that, I will just close the call with a lot of thank you to everybody. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Ali. Nice meeting
Thank
all of
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Allah
Allah
Hafiz.
Hafiz.
Ali, just one question.
Yeah, I'm here. Let me
Yeah.
just
Close the recording.